What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Stories from Syrnarya. I am, of course, Syrnarya, and last episode we left off where Grubick was reading books and learned about one person. He learned about an orc that goes by the name of the Lord of Death, and Grubick now believes that he is his father. So let's just go ahead and get right into the story. The next morning, Roman and Grubick are woken up by a knock at the door. So Roman shoots up, full of a lot of energy. Usually, Grubick is the more energetic one, but Grubick was slow to getting up, like more of a please don't let me sleep longer type feel. And Roman goes to open the door and sees that it's the librarian, the female that they saw at the library that helped them out a little bit. Roman looks back at Grubick, and Grubick takes a second to realize who it is. Then once he finally does, he asks her, "So, why are you here?" And she looks at both of them and tells them, "There's someone at the library for you." And he seems to be urgent, or he seems to be a little mad. I can't tell. So please come to the library. I'll let y'all get dressed real quick. So Grubick and Roman both get up. They close the door back so they can get dressed. Grubick finds a random cloak in the closet. And he says, "Why not switch it up a little bit? I'm gonna wear this now." And it's this long purple cloak. And there's a insignia for the buckle of it that he holds it together with an S on it. Like it's a sharp S. Like you could cut somebody with it. And it has a small hood on it. That hood's definitely not going to fit on Grubick, but he still wears the cloak. And he's able to wrap himself in it a little bit to where it like covers up his whole body. And he goes downstairs and the innkeeper looks at Grubick and asks him, Where'd you get that cloak?" Grubick looks at him and goes like, "I found it in the closet. How much do we owe you for it? I'm willing to buy it." The innkeeper looks at him and says, "I'll sell you it for 100 gold, but you have to promise me not to rummage through these closets again, and don't take clothes that don't belong to you." Grubick looks at him and goes like, "No promises, but Roman, you can hand him the 100 gold. So Grubick begins walking outside, leaving Roman to pay the innkeeper, and Roman catches up after paying. They both walk down the block to the library, and they both go inside the library. They see the guy. And at first glance, he looks like just a silhouette of a man. He's wearing all black. He's got like gunmetal throughout his outfit, and he's holding like a scythe, or it could be easily mistaken as a scythe. And he takes off his hood, looks towards Grubick and goes like, "Finally, what took y'all so long to show up?" Grubick looks at him and goes like, "What are you doing outside of camp? Why'd you come down here? You know you don't need to be leaving your post." This man, it seems like, looks at Grubick up and down and says, "Well, now that your mother is gone, I no longer have my duties. I came looking for you. I knew what you'd be looking for, and I know where you can find it. You know, there's a spot at camp for this. You just have to come back." Grubick looks at him and says, "Never. Why would I go back after what I've done? There's no reason for me to go back. I will find my own way. This guy looks at him again, up and down. He nods and thanks the librarian, then walks out the door. And then Grubick looks up, confused a bit now that this has happened. This has already happened. This has happened. He looks at Roman and asks him, why was he out of his post? He's supposed to be guarding the gate. What is going on at that camp? Roman looks up and says, well, your mother put him there. Maybe he thought it's time to leave. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Well, I guess we'll figure it out, right? Grubick, he just has a lot going on in his mind. And he rushes back to the innkeeper in the inn. And he says, listen, I'd like to go ahead and pay what I need to pay for the room. I'm going to go grab my stuff. We're leaving. The innkeeper looks at him and goes like, huh, I thought you were staying for a while. Grubick says, it's just, there's too much. I need to leave. It's time for me to leave. Grubick runs upstairs, just grabs all of his stuff, throws them in the bags, and leaves the inn. He catches up with Roman in the middle of the city. He goes into the library, lets the librarian know, do we need to return any of these books? The librarian looks at him and says, no, you do not. But I do have a question. Grubick then stops for a second and asks him, what is it? Anything. The librarian then asks him one simple question. Well, it's boring here. Mind if I come with? You seem like you're going to be having a little bit more fun than I am. Grubick retorts back and says, only if you're willing. We got the room. I noticed you used some magic. You might be worth it for us. Are you a wizard or? She looks at him and goes, yes. Well, some would call me a witch. Or a warlock. Or whatever floats your boat. I really don't care. If you get hurt, I can heal you. Now, if you piss me off, I can kill you. We'll figure it out. Grubick then looks at her and nods, giving her the let's go look, and walks out the door. So the woman, she immediately goes to the back room, lets whoever's back there know that she's quitting and that she's leaving. She leaves the shop with a bag full of stuff. And Roman sees her, what looks like casting a spell. And the bag is now like, it can fit in her pocket. Grubick looks at her and goes, what was that? That's a spell? You can do that? She looks at him and goes like, well, of course. Just about anything is a spell. If you are powerful enough or if you're good enough at what you do, you can do anything. And Grubick then contemplates. He says, I need to learn a couple of things. Do you have any spell tomes or spell books in there that I can borrow for a while? She looks at him and says, I gave you a few, but anytime, just ask me. I can teach you. And Grubick then asks her to follow, as they are now going to be embarking on a journey. Might be a long one, might be a short one. Grubick doesn't really know. So Grubick and this woman both catch up with Roman. Grubick looks at her and goes, I never caught your name. And do you mind if we get it real quick? She looks at him and goes like, well, the name's Serena. I'm a human female, if you need to know that. Grubick looks at her and goes like, well, my name is Grubick. And I guess since we're feeling our races and gender, I am a male, half dark elf, half orc. Nice to meet you. Roman then pops up because he feels a little bit left out. Oh, I'm a wood elf. My name's Roman. And Syrnarya then looks at him and gives a little chuckle. Just that he's adorable type chuckle. And all three of them embark out the city. They go out the front gate. Instead of going down the path back to the camp, they take a quick left. Which is the very first left. And they go down this long, long path. Probably, it takes them probably a week or two to get down this path. They've already gone through a little bit of their food. They're all three tired. They finally find a camp to rest. It seems to be a very empty camp. And like a barren camp, abandoned. So Syrnarya then pipes up, hey, if you want, I can enchant this place to make it hidden and so we can sleep and rest. Grubick and Roman look at her, nod to her, and they both sit down on a stump nearby. She begins to cast the spell to enchant this place, and Grubick watches her, fascinated. He's enjoying the colors, he's enjoying the spells, and Roman doesn't seem to be caring or paying attention. He seems to be distracted. And after Syrnarya is done with these spells, she goes and sits on the stump with Grubick. And they both begin chatting away. Roman just looking around, not knowing what's happening. That he probably doesn't even care. He just wants to be around his best friend. And all three of them, about an hour later, all three go to sleep. And the next morning, all three of them wake up hearing explosions. That causes both Grubick and Roman to just shoot up out of their coverings, and Syrnarya starts looking confused, wondering what's going on, and all three of them notice the protective bubble pretty much Syrnarya put up is slowly fading away. Grubick begins looking around, trying to figure out where the explosions are coming from. And he looks towards the city, and he notices there's smoke coming from what can only be described as the other side of the city. Not in the city, but the other side of the city. And Grubick grabs a map out of his pocket of the surrounding areas. And he realizes that's pretty much the perfect spot for the camp. And he thinks about it for a second. He looks at Roman. He mentions to Roman that that's where the camp would be. And Roman and Grubick both look at each other, thinking, wondering if they should go help. And then they begin seeing horses and carriages going along the trail nearby. So they both look, and the horses, carriages, and all that are the exact ones that the camp uses. And he looks at Syrnarya, immediately asks her to go ahead and put some stealth spells and hide them immediately with some spells. So she begins trying to start putting on spells to try to hide. Grubick looks at Roman and says, "Those are the guards of the camp. I don't know what happened, but they're probably looking for us after the death of my mother." So a little afterwards, Grubick and Roman sit down hoping that the protective spells work. So all of the horses and carriages pass by smoothly. Of course, one of them stop, like sensing that there's something wrong. After a little while of looking around, they begin to leave again. Grubick and Roman look at each other with a sigh of relief. Both of them and Serena both begin moving out, going further away from the city, just further away in general. And then they spot a hooded figure in the woods. And this hooded figure is just staring at them, just looking like a blank stare. So both Grubick and Roman begin walking slowly towards who seems to be staring at them. And Serena is cautious immediately. She begins doing spells to provide protection for Grubick and Roman. And the figure just looks at them. And they all hear a whispering voice. "You're mine." Grubick and Roman just look at each other, wondering who said that. There's no way that it could have been the figure, as it's too far away to have whispered, and it sounded like he was right in their head. So Grubick and Roman continue heading towards the figure, and Grubick takes out his dagger to ready himself for potential battle. The figure takes his hood off, revealing that he's an orc with black eyes, smoky legs. The cloak that he was wearing turns into a smoke, like what looks like a bunch of smoke emitting around him. He looks at Roman, and then he looks at Grubick. The only thing they all hear is a whisper. "Mine, I say. Grubick then notices the figure just disappear. Grubick looks around, wondering where he went. So Grubick and Roman both start investigating the forest, and they can't find anything. So Grubick, Serena, and Roman both get back on the path and just start walking. Grubick notices a farm nearby, and he looks at it and he goes like, "There must be a better weapon than this dagger in here, at least." So Grubick sneaks into the barn, opens the door, and he notices a pitchfork. And he grabs it, walks out the barn, joins back up with Grubick and Roman. And Grubick asks Roman to help him cut off a good chunk of the handle so we can use it as a one-handed weapon. So now Grubick is armed with a pitchfork, like just a basic farmer's pitchfork. So then Roman's just confused because he just uses a bow, a sword, and a dagger. That's all he uses. Later on, Grubick, Roman, and Serena, as they keep going down the path, they see another figure. This time, the figure's skin is covered in red, designs all over. Like it looks like a fiery red. Grubick walks up to this figure and asks him, if you don't mind me asking, who are you? This figure looks at him and goes like, so, you can see me. That's nice. You must be close to your death. Okay. Well, I'm the gatekeeper. That's all you need to know. You'll be seeing me again soon. Goodbye. And that who called himself the gatekeeper disappears in a cloud of dust. Grubick then looks at Roman confused. And then looks back at Syrnarya. Syrnarya looks at both of them and like, who are you talking to? There was nobody there. Grubick and Roman look at each other and realize maybe this person was telling the truth and that they're gonna be dying soon. So they both begin taking precautions and trying to figure out what to do. Out of nowhere, they see an arrow fly by their heads. They look at the arrow and notice that it's from the camp. It's the exact arrows that the camp uses. It has their custom engraving and everything on it. So both Grubick, Roman, and Syrnarya are running. There's arrows firing at all of them. And they get inside of a building, the first building they can find. And they both sit down to hide. They all sit down to hide. And all Grubick hears is a cough from Roman. Grubick looks at Roman and sees an arrow sticking out of Roman's back. Right in the middle, right next to the spine. Roman looks at Grubick, says, I don't think it's gonna work, whatever we do. Syrnarya begins trying to do a healing spell, but it doesn't seem any of her spells are working. Or at least she doesn't have a spell strong enough or that can work on Roman. Roman then keels over. Tells Grubick to find your father. And Roman's gone. He's now gone. Grubick and Syrnarya both head upstairs of this building. Air was still firing at the building. Both head upstairs, hide inside of a closet. Grubick begins beating himself up again. At some point, the arrows just stop. Full stop. Somebody walks into the building. The man that walks into the building calls out, Grubick, come out. You have been sentenced to death. Grubick says, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna fight. We need to fight. So Grubick walks out of the closet, goes out the door, steps up to the guy, and says, you do remember that I've beaten all of your records, correct? Every single one of them. He pulls out his pitchfork and points it directly at the guy's neck. The guy looks at Grubick and says, well, you see, the records don't matter. This is a real fight. Grubick looks at him and says, well, see, there's a problem here. You've killed Roman. Roman's gone, so I no longer have anyone to live for. So, we're gonna do this right here and right now. So Roman steps back slightly, readying his pitchfork. Syrnarya steps out a little bit, starts casting a spell to provide protection for Grubick. The guy looks at Roman and says, finally, honestly, I've wanted to do this for so long. Grubick says, well, that makes 2 of us. Grubick then swipes the pitchfork at him. Anyways, thank y'all for watching episode 2 of Stories from Syrnarya. I know I'm leaving you off with a bit of a cliffhanger, but I guess you'll have to see what happens in episode 3. Now, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode, and make sure to follow, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and just stay tuned for more Stories from Syrnarya content. I'm going to be looking into making a Patreon so that I can have exclusive content, potential artwork, potential styles, potential anything like a map, potentially. Like, everything's just potential right now. I'm just thinking about it. So I hope y'all enjoyed. Like, follow, subscribe, and y'all have fun.